If we can bring everybody back, we are on a time budget this morning. Or I should say we're on your budget of time this morning. So as much time as you would like to take, we can stay that much longer. So your call, your time.
Okay. Pastor Jesse, please. Pedro, who's gonna be? Robert. Okay. All right. Where's Robert? Oh, Robert, please. Let's get it over with, man. Yeah, let's get it over with. So, our case for group number 1 was we got the big one. And everything is leveled, and the only building that is standing around is the Concord SDA Church. So, what was our plan?
So our conclusion was the first thing we needed to do is to establish what our resources are, assess those resources, establish who's in charge of various responsibilities, and that would be such as ham radios and CBs, how to be able to contact our members through those avenues. And then next would be to identify the medical personnel in our area so that we can tap into them. We felt like our first focus should be on our own members, but once we have sort of taken care of that, then we could move on to community around us. There were 3 important things that were emphasized by our disaster director here. The first is that specific roles need to be chosen or established initially. So in other words, you don't want the pastor to have the responsibility of doing that. That needs to be divvied up amongst your membership, those that show up immediately after this disaster. How many that is, very big question, because if all the infrastructure around you has been destroyed, then how do you get to the local church, right? Mm-hmm. So that's walking for sure, bicycles maybe, motorcycles, that type of thing, but probably not cars or trucks. The second is you should have a backup plan because your first plan is probably due to fail. So plan on being flexible. And then the third thing that you mentioned was we need to connect with our local authorities as soon as possible, police, fire, and so forth. And you had 2 books that you were recommending. The first was Disaster Spiritual Care, and you felt like this was the number 1 book that everyone needed to have, and you're going to try to see that we get one out of your very big budget, right? But we can't get it at Amazon. So that's Disaster Spiritual Crisis. And the second is Stilling the Storm. Stilling the Storm, worship as a way to heal.
Thank you very much, Robert. Give group number 1 a hand. Sorry, but that's a half. That's a half as. No. You got to give it the real thing. Come on. They had a lot of work. They did a lot of work. Man. All right. I know you're tired. Case number 2, Andrea. I'm going to read the case and then you tell them.
Sounds good.
All right. It's just another Monday morning. This is a real case, by the way, guys. This happened. You're the pastor and you're coming to the church to do some paperwork. As you come into the church office, you discover that the main door to the sanctuary is open. Then you discover a trail of blood that leads to one of the bathrooms, where you find one of the church's volunteers dead after being stabbed 27 times. You call a team of pastors to help you in this major crisis.
Yeah, we also noted that you would probably want to call the police probably right away, and the team of pastors as well. But also, one of the early calls would be to the conference, because you're going to want the conference to handle the media response. Right? That's not your job as the local pastor. You don't have to do that. Nor do you want other people to do that. You want professionals to do that. The conference has people for that. and getting a close group together, like these local pastors, pastors that are nearby, Adventist pastors, but not just Adventist pastors, right? People from other local churches as well. You can contact for that pastor as well. They're going to want to contact some of their close support people at their church, but also their own family or people they know that will be able to support them through that time, because there's a lot of self-care that will need to be done through this crisis as well. And so as the team comes together, these other pastors come, they start working on establishing what is the timeline for this to be a crime scene at your church. How long do you have to actually, till you get to use your facilities again? So you may have to have some of these other pastors locate a place where you can worship. We also decided that we had a school at our campus as well. And so you're going to get in touch with this principal and say, maybe you shouldn't have classes for a little while. Maybe you should look at a meeting somewhere else. The conference can help with that as well. Getting people to contact grief support. And that's support through counselors, and that's support for the family of the victim. That's support for the children, because this is we decided it was like a Sabbath school teacher this volunteer was murdered at our church. And so you're going to want to get help for the children that just get taught by this person. And also support through counseling for the pastor that found this situation. And you'll want someone to vet the calls that are coming to the pastor's phone. They don't need to handle that. Someone else can do that. You get a couple of people to do that. You can get someone that's on the church phone line, right? The church is going to be getting phone calls, and you might not even be able to answer that phone for a while, but maybe you can get an answering machine to direct calls to where they will be able to be received. And some things to do to focus on self-care for that pastor especially. They should connect to other fellow pastors, and within 7 to 10 days of that incident, they're going to be going full out, right? But they will want to take a break and do something normal. Get away, like go home and do their laundry even. Maybe take a few days. Take a couple days and just go away. Leave it. You don't need to be there. Someone else will handle it. And the other pastors around should build a system to insulate that pastor from all the crises other people have with the situation. They don't need to be handling that. There are other people that can take that on. And good advice is to reach out to a police chaplain in the area. They deal with situations like this on the regular. And one thing that was mentioned is that this pastor could honestly benefit in not that long of a time period from a transfer to a different location. It doesn't have to be their church for that much longer, because they will need help of their own perhaps. And one of the keys we talked about was not something to do after the fact, but create relationships in advance. Create relationships. Know who the counselors are, who Christian counselors are in your town. Know who the police chaplains are. Know who you're going to be in contact with in advance, because it'll happen. So pre-establish a lot of these relationships.
Thank you very much. Thank you. This case actually happened in the Orlando Central Seventh-day Adventist Church a few years back. I really love the way you guys focused on care for the pastor, because that was what was missed at the time, and that pastor is no longer a pastor. And that hurts me, because he was my friend. That hurts. Okay, group number 1. Oh, 3. Okay. Yeah, right. That's right. I'm sorry. I'm tired. You can tell that. I'm going to read the case, and who's going to be the lead presenter? Come on. The local police department is in crisis. One of their police officers mistakenly shot and killed an unarmed white boy. The community is up in arms, reacting to the shooting and also reacting to the decision to persecute the decorated officer. especially within the context of a previous shooting of an unarmed black boy by an officer who had some issues on his record but he was acquitted by the court. There seems to be a double standard. You're the pastoral team of one of the largest church in town, and one of you is even a volunteer chaplain in the police department. How do you respond?
Okay. This was a really complex situation, so our challenge was trying to get this organized. So our secretary, Formoso, your first name? Dang, okay. Thank you for doing this, and then we were trying to condense down the material. So that was a challenge in and of itself. Our volunteer chaplain, we thought the first thing was to get information from the police. So the volunteer chaplain would communicate with the chaplain department and the head chaplain, as well as the chief officer of whatever this region is, because we're assuming if it's a small city, there would be two different ways to go versus a small city. So that would determine what would happen there and who to talk about. Then our role as pastors, and this is not just pastor of the largest church that we are, but seeking to help the pastors to work together to so that they can work together and identify, help coordinate, making sure that families are being visited that are the victims, and that any of the police officers, especially the one involved, that the chaplaincy department is making sure that, we want to make sure we're not going to overlap, that's being taken care of, and if not, say we could do something if that's not something you could do. Then we would enlarge that out to coordinate with the officer involved, the chaplains, the chaplains involved, the families involved, and also the police department itself. So we would map out a systematic plan based on our interactions with these individuals with in mind. A practical thing that came up that helps take out a lot of the stress in the everyday life was someone in our church was going to volunteer to coordinate with providing food for the families, and not just our church, maybe finding out the other churches that are going to provide, that are nearby, that can meet those needs, and then our church would try to fill in the cracks where the missing parts would be. Next was the working with the chaplain to give us guidance about what to do or what not to do. This is kind of connected with the first one, so we're not got this organized seamlessly as we'd like. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Police officers do not open up easily, but we still need to make contact with the officer and his family and provide spiritual resources if they're wanted, based on the officer and his contact. So there we would be working with the chaplain to give us guidance about what to do or what not to do, and who would be the best individuals to reach out to police officers. Another idea that came up was open up the church gym, dealing with the community need now. Open up the church gym so people could come, and we could do a variety of things. We could help people individually who feel that they're traumatized by these events themselves, even though they may not be personally involved. They're part of the
Awesome. I really love that you guys have taken a two-pronged approach here. The approach to heal the church and everybody in the church and the police department and everybody inside, and then healing the community. I think that's what the church needs to be doing. Our time is completely up. We have gone over and above. Sure. But I really appreciate...
We would continue to have briefings among ourselves to do what's right.
I really hope you get one thing out of all this. It's not a matter of if it is going to happen. It is of when it's going to happen. And it is your duty as a pastor to prepare a response for that. You don't want to be caught not prepared. You will never be completely prepared, but you at least have to have a plan. One church, I think it was the Sacramento Central, that shared with us that they had a plan that they wrote. So he offered to share with everybody. Please, that's a very good best practice that you need to have. God bless you guys. Thank you for having me and for being patient with my daughter, my friend, and me today and yesterday.
Ivan, we really want to thank you and your team for coming and blessing us. And yeah, it's true. It's not a matter of if, but when. And God bless you in your ministry. And we'll look forward to those resources and we'll send them out. Yes. Thank you. We are going to roll very quickly. And I am just giving a professional tip to our speakers coming up that brevity makes a much better talk. So, and if some of you are wondering about when we're shooting for, we are not going to be getting out before noon. We got a little bit late start this morning, and so that kind of chewed up that time. So we're going to be needing to roll quickly. So I want to be brief too. But I want to invite Kurt Dolinsky from It Is Written to come up and share with us. He's made the trip up to Sacred Hill to talk with us about what's going on with It Is Written.
Thank you. Privileged to be here. I kept driving and I wondered if I had missed this place. My first time. Boy, I tell you, when you guys get away, you get away. Yeah. So it's really, really neat to be here. I just wanted you to know that It Is Written is a North American division ministry, and we are here to provide resources for you as you continue to minister. We have the same goal as you, to reach your communities for Christ. We do that through media, and we can now connect with you through giving you the names of the individuals that respond to our programs and those kind of things. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. So brevity is the answer here. We do mission trips. Why? Because it changes your life and it changes the lives of any church members that you have. So I just want to show you, and of course it changes the life of the place where you go. So really briefly, you're going to have to really look quick here. We're going to Moldova here in just a few days, actually, January 24. We're looking for about 10 preachers, and when we say preachers, we mean preachers or lay preachers. And then we're going to Mongolia in February 27 to 11. We need healthcare professionals. If you have individuals in your church that you think would benefit or enjoy doing something like this, I'll let you know how to get those information. We're going to Beirut, Lebanon to do a little preaching. And health professionals are going to be needed for that particular project. So if you know somebody on that. And then we're going to Zambia, and we're looking for preachers. That's in May. And then we're going to Peru to do some preaching there as well. And then Ethiopia, health professionals and preachers. And I've got sheets I'll have back on the back table there for any one of these particular ones with the dates and how to get involved and that kind of a thing. So then we're going to French Polynesia. We're looking for preachers. And then in 2020, January, actually 1 year from now, we're going to be heading to India to do some health professionals and some preachers. And we are interested and willing to work with your church. If your church has a group of people that would like to go, we would love to, we can plug you into the contacts and resources that we have available there. Moving on quickly, itiswritten.com/mission trips, and all of them are listed right there. And you can get the pricing and everything, because we provide all of the lodging and meals while you're there. But you have to then just provide your own airfare. Okay, here we go. Recharge. What is Recharge? It is a retreat for pastors on the emphasis for evangelism. And we just finished up this one in December, a month ago, our first one at Cahata Springs Conference Center. And we had over 80 people that came to it, pastors and lay people that are interested in evangelism. And so our plan is to do that again this next year. We had John was there, Eric Flickinger was there, and there was one other person, I can't remember who it was. But there is a Recharge retreat for any pastors who want to come and get that cleared through your conference to do so. On we go. So you can email Yves Monnier to reserve a spot at that. That's Yves, Y-V-E-S, at iiw.org. Okay, I just want to say something about this in case you haven't heard. We have put together a complete evangelism in a box. On this thumb drive right here is all of your PowerPoint slides, all of your notes, all of your brochures. Everything is right here in this package. I can tell you that if you get the gold edition, which has all the marketing materials, it's got radio spots, television spots, handbills, personal letters, transfer letters from when you're moving from your public venue to the church venue. But you have all editable, did you hear that word? Editable slides here with moving backgrounds and all the rest. It is an up-to-date version of an evangelistic series that you could have for your church, or if you wanted to take it overseas and do something. All of it's right here in Keynote and PowerPoint. So I'll have some of these back there if you want to take a look at those. Moving on quickly. We also have a mega mailer. Here is an opportunity if you want to get Bible studies started in your church. Probably the easiest way to do that. We have designed a mailer, and we can hit every house in your zip code or whatever area you want to do. You pick a zip code, and we will do all of the mailing to that zip code. We'll just tell you how much. It is 39 cents a door. So for $390, you can hit 1,000 homes right around your church. And then, so they say for less than $500 because you'll want to get some of the Bible study lessons, which we have. Most of you probably have seen these already. These are the brand new It Is Written Bible lessons. These are Christ-centered Bible lessons. They're not just details about theology. So we really have seen a great enthusiasm for that. So for less than $500, you can hit 1,000 people around your church. Now, what is our experience? We are getting about 10 responses per 1,000. So if you're ready for 10 Bible studies in your church, then only do 1,000. If you want 20 Bible studies going in your church, try 2,000 in your mailing. I know that there's some churches here that have done that, and we've had some success in that. Now, maybe in California, the response rate might be just a slight bit less, so maybe between 5 and 7 because of the culture out here. But this is nationally what we're getting. Okay, so this is just a pastor in Boston who had a wonderful success with this, but we don't have time for that. Okay, It Is Written Bible lessons. We now have Bible lessons in many, many languages: English, Spanish, Arabic, Farsi, German, Italian, and Turkish. We're doing it right now in Mandarin and Japanese, and we're continuing to do these Bible studies in multiple languages, all Christ-centered throughout. Here is John Bradshaw. We have an ongoing discussion about his hairstyle, but I'm going to go ahead and play this real quickly. If the audio can go up, good. Oops, I pushed play and I got, can you just assist me back there and hit the, hit the...
I'm John Bradshaw from It Is Written, and I'd like to introduce you to a resource that I believe will bless you and bless others. The brand new It Is Written Bible Study Guides. 25 beautifully illustrated, magnificently designed Bible studies that have already been proven to be effective in reaching people for Jesus Christ. They're solidly biblical and relentlessly Christ-centered, very balanced, and they present Christ and the truths of the Bible just wonderfully. So, I want to encourage you to use this resource. It's great for personal Bible studies. It's wonderful for small groups, Sabbath school classes, if that's what you want to do, Bible study groups, and evangelism in myriad forms. The It Is Written Bible Study Guides, we've priced them so that they're very accessible. I hope you'll get them and become familiar with them and use them to reach others and for God's glory. Thanks so much, and God bless you.
So these are available. If you buy 10 or more, they're $6.99 for this whole package of 25 lessons, full color, and those types of things. So those are available. And I wanted you to know that we just finished a kids series. Here is a whole Bible study series for elementary age kids. So this is great for your Pathfinders, for your Sabbath school. If you wanted to if you are pastors and you're taking a young person through a Bible studies, here is a new set that you might be interested in. I'll let you take a look at it in the back there later. Okay. Connecting with It Is Written viewers, we have people saying, hey, do you have names that we could follow up with from the broadcasts that we do? We're on Trinity Broadcasting Network. Do you know TBN, which is the largest Christian television? So we pay over $1 million a year to be on that particular channel because it goes to almost every country in the world, and it covers 97% of every home in North America. So we pay a lot to get there, but we get some good responses, 400 or 500 responses a week. And if they're in your zip code, you can go to the database. I'm sorry, you can't read that too well there. Now it's even worse. Okay. But I'll get you the resource on there. You can register your church to receive the responses that we get from the particular zip codes. So you can be following up with these people, with these Bible lessons, even if you want to do that, because many of them are asking for Bible lessons. Okay, so you can start the friendship by giving the first Bible lesson. Question for you. When you are not at your church, who is preaching? And that's the question that we have right now. And here is an option for you. If you are in need of someone preaching, and if you have a substitute preacher, is it always the quality that you're looking for? And is it a visitor-friendly sermon? Well, question. We have an answer that you might be interested in. Something called In the Word. These are streaming and downloadable sermons from John. And I'm saying that he doesn't do any promotion at this. He just stands up and says, let's pray, and starts preaching. And you could play this in a church that does not have a pastor for the day. If you have multiple churches and you need somebody, there's a number of sermons, and they continue to be put up online. So it's called In the Word, and this is how you get to it. It is written.tv/programs in the Word. And you can just get a good sermon for a church service that you would need there. So it's a great resource for you. And so that concludes my presentation. I actually had one thing to do here. I have got a nice It Is Written t-shirt for somebody who can tell me. I've got to figure out something that they don't know. You all know who started It Is Written, okay? Can you tell me the year that It Is Written started? Somebody tell it out, and you've got a t-shirt. No. I heard 1952. Somebody else? 1844. That's right. That's good. I'm still waiting for the date. Yeah, you're really close. 56. Here we go, right here. I've got a medium if you want that. That's a large, but yeah, 1956. So we just celebrated. What is it? 60 over 60 years and going. So I appreciate that. I'll be available at the back there for a little while, and you're welcome to come by and stop in. Yes. Yeah. I tell you what. I'll have it back there. Okay. Thank you.
Kurt, thank you so much. If we could have Richard and John coming up, and let's see, is Craig in the house? Craig, you're going to be right next. So let's see. John, come and tell us what is coming down the pipeline.
Just a few quick announcements. Parsonage exclusion reports due in the office tomorrow. So if you haven't sent it already, please email it or text it or give it to me or give it to Jim or somebody so that it gets into the office by tomorrow. Another thing, just a couple points on your monthly reports. Your monthly reports are due in our office by the 3rd of the month. Now, all of you being pastors, you probably won't understand why it's difficult for us to get those reports. Historically, we've had a very difficult time in getting monthly reports. So some years ago, we adopted a policy that travel budgets, monthly travel budgets, are not paid unless we receive the reports. Once you let 3 months pass, there's no making it up. You've given up that $500 plus per month. Now, I know some of you don't need the money, so it can't be about the money, but I'm surprised at the number of people that leave that money and just don't turn in their reports. Now, it'd be difficult to draw a line between the need for the report and the travel budget, but we need it for a number of reasons, so we really would like for you to get them in every month and on time. Now, if you looked at the report on the website, you notice that it expired at the end of 12/18. Richard has been doing a tremendous amount of work to develop a new app for that, and he'll tell you about that in just a minute. I have just a couple other things to mention. One is on the report. There is a place for the mileage. And probably all of you know there was a change in the tax law effective January 1, 2018, making it not possible to deduct your miles on your 2106. So we have devised a plan which we have checked with legal counsel and seems to be okay, that based on receiving the report from you, we move the number of miles that you report for business purposes from a taxable category to an accountable plan, making it not taxable. For that, we need to know from you the place you went, the purpose you went there, and the number of miles that you drove. We don't need a long recitation about what you accomplished, etc. We like fewer numbers and words. Also, you need to know that going to your church, your normal place of business, is not tax deductible. That's considered commute miles. So it needs to be other miles. One other thing, salary increase voted as a recommendation by the North American Division to be effective July 1 is approximately 3%. More exactly, 2.9%. Now, that has not yet been voted by Northern California Conference Finance Committee or Executive Committee, but certainly we are doing our best to include that in the budget, and if all things go as we expect, then you probably would see that increase in your July payroll. So, those are the announcements that I had. You may have questions, and you can ask me afterward. I'm going to hand the mic to Richard so he can tell you about the app with the report.
Thanks, John. You know, ever since I walked into the conference office 10 years ago, and it's hard to believe for me that I've been here 10 years, and had to fill out my first monthly expense report, I've been looking for a better way to do this. Looking at the software that's available commercially, because I didn't really want to have to write it myself, I discovered that yes, there are many, many different pieces of software that'll do exactly what we need. There's a problem. Most of those cost between $5 and $10 a month per person. Times that by the number of pastors we have and other people filling out the monthly expense report. We're talking about some serious money. Fast forward to about 2 years ago, we converted the conference email system to Office 365. One of the side benefits of Office 365, besides email, is that we have a variety of tools that we can use. Greg has up on the screen just a sampling of some of the things that we can do with Office 365. And one of the things that they provide is a app building utility called Power Apps. I know many of you have used it now to look at the pastor's list that we have available. And if you don't have that and would like it, talk to me afterwards. But this is the utility that I used to build this new expense report. So how do you get to it? Well, when you log into your conference email, this is via the web. If you have it set up on your Apple ID or Apple Mail, you have to still go and log into the web to get to this expense reporting tool. Once you log into the web, you'll see on the top left a 9-button tile. And if you click that tile, it takes you to this screen. On the screen, down at the bottom, you can't probably see it too well, it says Explore All Apps. Once you click that, you have to scroll down and you will see Power Apps listed there. Once you click on that, you will see down at the bottom, it says NCC Expense. If you click that, it will load, and you will be taken to this screen where you choose a calendar. It doesn't really matter what calendar you choose, but you have to choose a calendar. Oh, okay. Thank you. So at the top, you'll see it says calendar. So if you click up there and choose a calendar, calendar is the one that points to the calendar that's attached to your email account. Once you've done that, you click any day that you wish to report on, and it will take you to the reporting screen, which is here. The only field here that is absolutely required for your monthly report to be completed is the Choose Option section where it says Short Description. If it says anything other than short description, if it says anything other than choose option, the system considers that date is complete for your monthly report. If it says choose option, that you can fill out anything else. If you hit submit day, that day is not flagged as being complete. This information, according to Treasury, is vital for us to have. So please make sure you do that. As you go down the list, the next field down, okay, for our purposes, we're choosing worked. Daily activity, this is where you would record what you did for that day. Please be brief. Mark Worley was very adamant that he does not want a paragraph here. He wants a very brief description of what you did that day. Notes is an optional field. You don't have to fill it out. Again, he was reluctant for me to even put this on the screen because he doesn't want paragraphs. So the per diem list here, this is the types of per diem that are available. This is what Mark, again, asked me to add on this list. This can change depending on the tax laws and requirements of the conference. So this is not a required field, but things change based on which option you choose. So for our purposes, we're going to choose no per diem. Mileage is what John was talking about. You can enter in your mileage here. A note, some people on the Excel form were putting in text values for the mileage, like drove to such and such a place. You will not be able to do that here. The only thing you can enter in that field is numbers. If you put anything other than numbers there, it will not record it. In fact, it'll appear briefly and it'll disappear. So just be aware of that. The same is true for all of the fields below, where it says special mileage, airfare. Those are numbers. You can only put numbers in there. So this is informational here, does not affect the way any of the rest of the app functions. So anything below that, make sure you have appropriate approval, whatever that may be. Airfare, type in your airfare they're going to use. And this is one thing that I like about this app, is you can click that, tap or click to attach a picture, and you can pick a JPEG. If you're on a PC, you can choose PDF. Unfortunately, this does not work on the Mac, but in a minute I'll tell you how to get around that. So you insert the picture that you want, and assuming it's a picture of the receipt, if it's not, then all bets are off on that one. But you're done with airfare and move to the next column. And that goes the same way all the way down to the bottom of the app. Yes? The default is no per diem. So if you leave it alone, you're choosing no per diem. Good question. So, okay. So we have the rest of the items that you had on your Excel spreadsheet listed here. When you are done with the day, you have to click Submit Day. The reason you have to do that, this is a web form. Nothing gets written back to the conference office unless you hit Submit Day. So if you don't do that, I don't know that you filled this out. So be sure when you're filling out a day that you hit Submit Day. Each day, yes.
So the submit month is to let the database know that you're done submitting days for that month?
You're getting ahead of me, but yes. No worries. So any questions on the daily report? Mason? That's what your daily activity is for. That's a good question, but I've been told that is okay. They've looked at this and they said this is okay. So the mileage for the day, but
No. Mason, you're right. You still need all those things. All those things where it says daily activity still needs to be there. The only thing Richard was saying is where it says mileage down below, do not put a text value in there. That's the only clarification.
Sorry. I misunderstood the question. Sorry about that. Right, but that is for the day only. Yeah. Okay. Well, John, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. Okay, I think you were next. I will refer that to our fearless leader here, John. Yeah, the question was,
Do we record all our activities, even when we're in our office doing administration, or do we report only those activities that qualify the mileage? So he said, if you do anything at your church, you don't list any of that mileage. If you do meetings or worships or visitations of various sorts, you just list visit, meeting, and he wanted something really brief so that it would fit neatly into the IRS categories. And then the mileage for those specific activities and all the other activities, you don't even report.
The mileage that we can remove to the accountable plan is for miles away from the church. You go to the hospital, you go to the academy, you go to wherever. Going to your church is not something you need to or really perhaps should put on your report.
George. Well, if you put it there, they're not going to look there to calculate the miles that you did. They're going to be looking at the value of here, of what you put in this field. No, but I'm talking notes giving, I went to the hospital. Oh, yeah. Is that a good place to put that information? Historically, they've done that in the daily activities section. Well, you could put that in the notes field. You could put that part in, went to the office in the notes field, certainly.
Go ahead and put in your activity. You know, just if you want to log your activity in there, I do that too, even if there's no mileage attached to it. But at the end of the day, the entity that they're looking for is the mileage. And then for IRS purposes, that's when they're going to need the other corroborating evidence that goes along with it.
Everything that you put in this database will be stored, and it will be kept at an annual basis. So if you need it for your taxes, it's something we can extract for you. That can be done. Actually, that feature is, we don't have that in there yet, but let me move to Brandon because he had a question first.
So this might be for Rasmussen as well, but he mentioned that we're not allowed to log anything at the church, right? So
to or from the church.
So for mileage, if there's a church member that wants to meet, and I say, you can meet in my office, I cannot log those miles. But if I say, we're going to meet at the restaurant next door, those miles count.
John is nodding, so. Okay, Brother Barnes. Right. The special mileage, to my understanding, is mileage that's traveling out of conference. And Leone as well from...
Mostly that relates to conference mandated appointments. So like coming to Leone, special mileage. Going to your church, regular mileage. So anything with regular charge. So basically if we say we want you to go somewhere, John, correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the time that's going to be special mileage. Right. Correct. Did I say? Yeah. So mileage to the church, yeah, I'm sorry. But mileage in your regular daily things, you know, special mileage is pre-approved things.
let's get it in order. Sorry, just a second. Matt.
Just quickly, so a lot of us have 2 or 3 church districts. We have office hours at one church. Do you meet somebody in another church? From church to church, is that business miles?
Good question. Business, John, church to church, is that business miles? So if he's going between church A and church B, his own churches, he has 2 churches, he doesn't get paid mileage to go between the 2 churches. Yeah, I'll come back. Sorry.
I was told by an IRS guy that to put the church that's closest to your house as your office, and the church that's farther from you would always be
We're getting way off the IT realm here, so it's not my area. I'll disclose that. Okay. So if you have questions regarding the policies based on this, please email Mark Worley, and we'll let him address those for you, Roy.
Is this necessary to do every day, or can we wait and do it on one day a week, or can we wait to the end of the month and do it? And can we go back and correct the day that we've already committed?
So that's a really good question. I'm glad you brought it up, because it may shock you, but I may not enter everything exactly every day, because I tend to procrastinate a little bit. But in any case, yes, the short answer to your question is that you don't have to do this at any given time, with one exception. Your monthly report must be done by the 3rd of the following month in order to get it reflected on your payroll. If it's not done by then, it will not appear on that month's payroll. What you can do, if you go back, you can make adjustments to this at any time during that month period. But on the 3rd of the next month, probation is closed. Anything that you put in there will not be reflected on that payroll. There is a caveat to that as well. Once the 3rd of the next month has appeared, anything you have entered in the prior month, you cannot go back and change. You will be able to, Treasury doesn't want you to submit a receipt twice, for example. So if you've already submitted it, it went through the 3rd of the next month payment, they paid you for it. They don't want you to be able to go back and resubmit it.
We've got 4 hands, and that's it.
Okay.
It seems to me that the form is very, very deep within the website.
Okay.
Is there a way to make a shortcut so that we don't have to dig so deep within the website?
I will check into that. I don't know the answer to that question. However, I will say this. One of the reasons that I used this platform to develop this app is because you have choices. You can actually install the Power Apps app on your cell phone, and you will be able to run this report from your cell phone. And for your attachments, you can lay your receipt down on a desk, take a picture of it with your phone, and upload it to the system. You will be able to do that. And you can do it from a tablet, you can do it from your computer through the way I showed you, or you can also do it from your cell phone. And it works with iOS, and it works with Android.
Excellent. My second question is, I see an area to submit receipts for toll. Many people use Fast Track. What do you do in that situation?
Well, I also use Fast Track. But what you have the option to do with that is every month Fast Track sends you a link to an invoice. If you go in and highlight the date reflected, that would do it. Do a screenshot of it. Josie, I think you had a question, and then we'll come back there. Right. If it says anything other than choose option and you hit submit day, that day is reflected as good. Yes. Yes, you do. You need to go and say that that day you worked. Sorry, Fred. That is correct. Because if you don't do that, I have no way of telling as on the system that you did that. So, Tracy, and then. Excel worksheets are in the past. Don't live in the past, Tracy. How's that? Oh, there we go. We're back. Okay. I did have one other thing, Jim, if I can do that. We haven't shown you the submit month. Greg, can you go back to the first screen? Okay. So if you're in a day, and I forgot to mention to this, if you hit submit day, it's going to take everything you put in here and it's going to write it to the table and take you back to the calendar. But say you go in here and say, oh, well, instead of the 9th, I actually meant to go back to the 7th. If you go into the day, please, Greg. If you look at the top, there's an arrow there. If you click that arrow, it'll take you back to the calendar screen without having to make any changes. Just wanted you to be aware of that. Okay, now if you go back to the month view. So at the end of the month, if you hit that submit month button at the top, it will take you to a list of any day that you missed. If you missed a day, it'll be shown here. And once you click the arrow beside the day over there, it'll take you back to the calendar where you can actually complete that. Now, this program here is a version 1.0. It's the very first development of this program. As we move forward, there will be changes coming. And one of the changes, which I already have on the list, is on that monthly report. Where you click the day, it will take you to that day. I frankly just ran out of time in programming the system. So that is coming. So you will notice differences as we go through this process. As long as it's before the 3rd of the following month. Otherwise, you have to email Mark Worley and Company. Currently not. Okay, sorry, I'm been given the evil eye here, so thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
And we want to thank Richard for working really hard on this to bring this something easier for you to. Honestly, I think the best thing is going to do use your phone. You know, I think computers can be cumbersome. Use your phone, take pictures of your receipts, send them in. It's going to be much, much easier than the old system we had. So anyways, if you have questions, talk to them afterwards. We need to keep rolling. Otherwise, we can stay here till 1 o'clock. And I think the rest of you want to get on the road. So anyways, Craig, where's Craig? On the way up, you saw pictures of state of Jefferson. I want to introduce you to the governor of the state of Jefferson. Craig, come on up.
Meadows is a special place, a place of adventure where kids and families come to Meadows is a special place, a place for adventure, where kids and families come to experience new and incredible things, where laughing, playing, singing, and growing happen every day. A place to be challenged, to cross barriers, to be pushed beyond your comfort zone and emerge victorious. It's a place for connection, making new friends and creating memories that will last a lifetime. A place of family and friendship where we rediscover what fellowship really means. Where campers and staff revel in the love of God that permeates every part of this camp. But most importantly, Leoni Meadows is a place where the presence of God is known. A place to find Jesus, accept his unending grace, and let him capture your heart. It's a place where you belong, and that is good news.
Hey, we have been so blessed the last 5 years to have Will Brown on our staff, and each year he's produced what I think is just a phenomenal video. We'd like to send it to you along with the brochures this year. If you have time, if you feel it's appropriate for your church to see, we'd sure love that input into your church. Thank you so much.
And a huge thanks to Craig and staff for another great hospitality. Thank you, Craig, so much. It was awesome. Dell, where is Dell? Dell?
I'm going to make this much shorter than I had planned. I want to focus this year more than any other year on discipleship. I've been doing it for 35 years. I published one of the first books on that subject in our denominations. I've made more mistakes than you ever can in that area. And this is an introduction to what I talk about on discipleship. There are 4 things we do when I intentionally disciple a person: intimacy with God, learning how to serve, how to support each other, and how to replicate that with another person. I'm going to be sending you an email in the next couple of days that has that introduction. It has the tools for doing each one of these. And I'm going to send it to you twice for this reason. The first one is going to be Word 2016. Some of you are not using the latest Word that there is. You may use a 93 to 2000, I don't know, and so I'm going to send it all over. And the reason why I'm sending it two formats, not only because you may have a different format, I'm encouraging you to go to your elders and say, to maybe 3 or 4 of them, and say, I want to learn how to disciple better. Will you be my guinea pigs? Can I practice on you? Because they are the ones and others eventually who are going to be discipling each other. And so what will happen is they may have an older format of Word, and so you will have it both in the latest format as well as an older Word format so that you can use this. One last word is you can use all of these tools, and I have so much more than just what I will be sending you. For example, one time a pastor said, can you come and preach on prayer, Dell? And I looked, I said, I have 52 different sermons on prayer alone. What is about prayer do you want me to speak on? And so I have lots of resources. I gave you just a few basic ones. Jim kind of teased me by saying, can we develop discipleship for dummies? And that's why you have that as a subtitle. But I put it also in an older format because that way maybe some of the other members can use this. You can use this for its intended purpose. I do not want you taking all of my documents, publishing them in a book without a footnote. Just say, Crazy Dell said this, then I'm happy. But I do want you to use them and replicate them as you can. I'd love to come to your church and teach discipleship. We're willing to do all the things we've been doing for the many years, but I would like to especially focus on discipleship in 2019. Thank you for your time.
Caleb.
Last year we had a young adult prayer retreat over at the Woodside SDA Church. Different leaders, young adult leaders from Sacramento Central, Carmichael, just a bunch of churches in the area, and getting together and saying, okay, what can we do to have young adults meet together, support each other, and learn how to pray? We got some good feedback after this last one. They said, we've had lots of retreats where we talk about how to pray, but we haven't really had lots of structured times where we actually pray together. They didn't point any fingers or name any names. They said that sometimes pastors talk a lot about prayer and then tell us goodbye. And so they wanted times where we can get together and really pray and talk about how does prayer impact the different areas we're looking at. So we're going to look at how to have a prayer life, how to be close to God, and also how does that prayer life and how does following God's leading connect with your relationships? Like I know that for many of you, you probably deal with the two extremes. People who think that, God wants to be in charge of their life, but when it comes to relationships, they can just do whatever, Like he's not going to help at all. He doesn't really care what happens. Just get married and have fun. And then you have the other extreme, think they don't have to date at all. They don't have to be emotionally healthy people. They don't have to have boundaries, all these things. And God's just going to take care of it. And he's going to appear to the next Mary and say, hey, would you go and marry this person, please? So taking away those extremes, what does dating for a Christian look like? We're going to have some panel discussions, some people talking about that, and just really coming together to say, how can we make this next year really being helpful and supported in our Christian community. So that's January 18 through 20, right here at Leoni Meadows. If you want information and just look at your conference email, there's a link there to sign up, more details, but we'd love to have you just send preferably your healthy young adults to us. So thank you.
We all want healthy members. Yes, Jeffrey Maxwell. Jeffrey is our risk management fearless leader. And with risk management, you get to see a lot of interesting things.
Thanks, Jim. I know what y'all are thinking. It's towards the end, and wow, they saved the best for last, didn't they? Risk management is so exciting. Well, I'm not going to stand up here these last 5 minutes. I was thinking 10 minutes, but 5 minutes and nag at you for 5 minutes. So what we're going to change the tempo a little bit this year, and we're doing something new, and it'll be good, and it'll be something hopefully that energizes you to do better, and when it comes to risk management. And so the first thing I think about is Leoni. You know, Leoni is such a beautiful place, but when I come here, I think it is a safe place, and I feel safe in Leoni. And that's not without cause. And that's because Craig Heinrich and his team, Terry Bolton. Craig, could you come on up here, please? NCC wants to acknowledge and recognize the wonderful work that Craig and his team, including Terry Bolton back there, do and have done for years to keep this place a very safe place. And we want to let you know we are very grateful for all that you do, and you just don't understand how well that they keep up with all the safety stuff going on here. And not saying that there's never a problem that comes, when there is a problem, they are quick to make changes, they're quick to be on it, and it's very minimal. When you think about a large establishment like this, it takes a lot to make this a safe place. And so we just want to show our appreciation for Craig and his team. Hold on.
It's a Leoni shirt.
Hey, while he's talking, I'll just tell you, you know what? That Terry Bolton right there is the most amazing guy in the whole world. Let's give that guy a big hand.
We wanted something that you could put up in your lobby, that you could display proudly to show that this is a safe place. So we wanted to make something for you. We made this little plaque that you can put up there. Sorry, it's not bigger. I thought it might be bigger, but we just want to give that to you. So this is going. That is going to be, I'm pretty sure it's going to be in the recorder, by the way. This is going to be in the recorder. And there is also another entity that we want to recognize this day. And some of y'all are going to be mad because you're going to think it's going to apply to you. But I want to let you know that this pastor probably doesn't know, but one of his members called me up just to tell me that, hey, my church needs to be recognized because of all of our safe stuff that we do. And I told her I would write a letter of, saying how wonderful a job they were doing. But then I thought later, well, we could actually do something better. And they have actually proved it to me. And their safety officer actually came up to me and wanted to show me all the stuff that they were doing. So this is a church that goes above and beyond the call of duty when it comes to safety. And Tracy Berg did not know I was going to be doing this today. But Tracy, Pastor Berg, if you could come on up and receive your plaque. You got one, too. Their safety officer is Fred Schmidt, by the way. But if you want to figure out how it's done, go to them. So yes, this is something new that we're doing. It doesn't mean that your church is not awesome at doing safety. I know there's some good churches in here that do a lot towards safety. The only difference is I know about that one. The safety officer, they came to me. I didn't have to come to them, and they have a lot of good stuff. So I know I'm pressed for time, Jim, so I'll keep this short. I'll be sending out an email to all the pastors. I did not make copies, but I'll be sending out an email with more details so that your church can also be a part and receive awards. And there will be something that everybody can get if they reach up to certain standards, including verified volunteers, including do they have a safety officer, some other stuff. But that's coming soon. I won't take questions right now. But like I said, I'll be sending out an email that's going to have this information on it. It's on our website already. There's still some stuff I got to include in there, but it's already on the website. So if you go to risk management, go to our department on the website, nccsda.com, I think, and go to our department. You will see safety awards, and there is more information. The schools will have their own too, coming soon at this year end, so they don't miss out. But anyways, that's what I have for today. So God bless.
Mark, you're up next, but before you come on up, I have two things for pastors. The first one, how many have seen the video of the Adventists? Came out a few years ago. The gentleman who did that also did the white coats, and some of you, I don't know if we have anybody here who served in white coats. I have two uncles who did during Vietnam, and it's a very well done video, and featured, I believe, is on PBS. And so we have a copy for each one of you. If I can get some people to come up here and help me hand them out. The second thing we have, and I would love to spend the next 20 minutes talking with you. I could spend another couple hours actually talking about this book. Hot off the press, and we have a copy for each one of you. Protest and Progress by Calvin Rock. It's the Black Seventh-day Adventist leadership and a push for parity. Right now, I don't know if you know this, the Adventist Church is the most ethnically diverse church in the world. And that's great, But it hasn't come without some costs. We have not been perfect in the way we've done it. And this kind of talks about some of the challenges we've had, especially with the African American community. And we've got Black History Month coming up. Last year, I preached kind of more of a diversity sermon in Black History Month. And I actually had somebody walk out on me. And I don't know if you preachers have ever had that happen to you. I imagine most of you have. I think sometimes we need to challenge our members. When I talked about we're an immigrant church, we have a president who is not big on immigrants and illegal, yeah. Well, he's also made legal immigration tougher too. But we need to look at our history. We need to know who we are and how we got here. And this book is one of those vehicles for us to figure out, to study, to know our history. And I highly, highly recommend it. I've read it myself. Fascinating book. It's going to be challenging. You may not agree with all of Calvin Rock's conclusions because, as he will show in this book, and I think it's one of the strengths of the book, the African American community is not monolithic. And he shows some of the diverse paths individuals have taken. It's an excellent book, and I highly encourage you guys to read it here within the next month and be prepared to preach a sermon in February, especially maybe on diversity, if not on Black history. We have a lot of richness in this church. Mark, time is yours.